Was that you when you used to play?
He was nearly as good as me.
So you in your past and you in your present, Charlie?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Ronaldinho is obviously an all-time great, and I'm sure that every young football player and futsal player looks.
You know, I love him. You know, you can't get a better player than that technically. You know, he's still playing today in Mexico. So.
Yeah, and like you said about technical development, and that's what we think about where futsal comes in comparison to football.
Definitely.
The technical ability, you know, and the technique that it really focuses on does really develop players.
I mean, you've got Cristiano Ronaldo, who grew up playing it, and it's his favourite thing in the world. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And with the exception of Germany, at the last World Cup, for the last, I think, 4 World Cups, or 3, every single player, bar none, who's won a World Cup, with the exception of Germany, for the last 20 years, grew up playing.
William, tell us a little bit about how you're involved with the FA and how you, what you're doing to promote futsal in England.
I'm a TV producer and a film producer. A couple of years back, my kids got into playing futsal.
Okay.
And I was suckered.
Did you play a bit yourself?
No. I wish. I'm too old and creaky. Yeah, so I thought it was a wonderful sport, and I saw a very original way to film it that could make it really exciting, because I don't believe it's quite been captured in as an exciting way as a sport can be shown. And because I had this vision, I've teamed up with the FA,
yeah,
and we're working together to put the sport on TV weekly.
Brilliant.
And in preparation for getting it on TV, I'm working with the clubs to help them acquire a bit of sponsorship and backers and possibly some well-known household names in their team.
I'm getting on a bit, so when I was young, we never had futsal. We just
So you clearly don't play futsal anymore?
No. We just done it in the street, basically.
Not like me and Charlie.
It'd be a
We're
tin
still
can.
youthful.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, you know, you guys are spoilt. I mean, you know, we had a tin can, anything you could kick, basically.
Yeah. And
so
now you're not allowed to. There's, first of all, parents don't allow their kids to play out after dark in the street, and residents don't allow ball games in streets.
You don't see it on the green, do you?
So that's missing. So for me,
yeah, it's a shame.
I think futsal can replace that missing technique. I mean, if you look at Zinedine Zidane, one of the world's greatest players, he puts his technique down to his improvisational technique to growing up playing on the streets of...
What tactics, do you know any tactics that they're bringing to the game? Obviously they're one of the best teams when...
Baku, playing Baku is very difficult.
Would it be like defensive? Would you be defensive?
Would we be defensive?
Yeah, or would
no,
it?
Man.
You go for it?
Yeah. Well, we know we can't shut them out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got to put more in the goal than they do. So it's a come along, and it's going to be like 15, 13. It'll be more goals than you've seen in the Premiership this year.
Your futsal journey?
Yeah, so I started playing football when I was really young. Played Sunday League up until around age 11, where I started to, I got introduced to futsal.
Mm-hmm.
And
where did you get introduced to futsal?
I got introduced to futsal. It was just with my Sunday League team. So my dad was the manager, and he set up a futsal team just because he looked into it a little bit, very vaguely, and he found that, you know, it's a good way to improve players. So yeah, we set up this futsal team, and at the start it was more for fun. You know, we'd done it on a Friday just for a bit of fun after school. But
Did you use all of the real equipment? And
the equipment, yeah, the size of the pitches were the same, and the weighted balls as well. And we started to enjoy it. And as a team, we then entered a few tournaments, and we done really well.
From the age of 12, were you still playing like 11-a-side?
I was. So it was.
So you was getting the best of both worlds.
I was getting the best of both worlds, yeah, absolutely. And I feel that's what a lot of the top foreign academies do as well. They play 11-a-side, but then they also play futsal as well, which helps them develop different skills.
Adam Lallana?
Lallana, yeah, he played a bit.
Misha Richards?
Yeah, well, his dad was a coach. But I mean,
I've got a few more as well, if you like.
But I do feel that they are few and far between in this country. But you look overseas, and you can't. Yeah.
I don't think that. I think in 5 years' time, every single professional footballer in this country
will have had a touch of. Do you think that's down to the FA implementing?
No, I think it's down to common sense.
Well, I think.
Why wouldn't you have I mean, it's brilliant.
Well, the thing is that there is, like, the FA are giving clubs the help to do that.
Yeah, in terms of their strategic plan, do you feel that the FA haven't influenced or other,
No, I think the
suppose,
FA have.
footballing good governing
the FA,
bodies?
listen, I work with the FA. They're massive exponents of the sport. They push the sport. They promote the sport. They work hard for the sport. They believe very much in the sport as a developing tool, as well as a game in its own right. But as far as whether it's their idea that it's in the pro clubs, no.
I genuinely feel that the FA do see that, and I feel that they see that as a tool of developing players. I genuinely do believe that.
So
but the thing
I.
is that the reality, as I said, of the Football League and the managers in the Football League, and even the players that they choose in the academy at some of the lower league clubs, it's more just about how fast you can run and how far you can head the ball. That's the reality of it.
I found that at a certain
at the
level,
Premier League clubs, I feel it is different, you know, that because they have a lot of foreign influences. But as I said,
what I would say,
resistance.
to be honest, is that in terms of playing staff for a Premier League club, it's the full package what they want.
I found that mentioning no coaches and no schools, I found people that they're very open to having futsal as part of their outfit and part of their school or their club, and they really want it, and it's great. But when it really comes down to the nitty-gritty, there's hidden resistance, and that's generally coming from established football.
Futsal is for the now generation, i.e. if you are coming into a system and you're like 8, 9, it's important that you get that futsal in you now. It's no point looking at somebody who is 20 plus. He can only play for fun now. He's not going to have the same. We've already seen. Well, Charlie's a prime example for me because
I feel it's very hard to tell, you know, a 24, 25-year-old man who's played his whole career in the Football League to then tell him, well, you know, your development was wrong, and him playing 150 league games, he's going to say, well, you know, I've played 150 league games.
How influential were your parents?
Yeah, my parents were very influential. I mean, being part of an academy nowadays even as well, it's very hard to, and it's a big dedication for your parents to, you know, travel 3 times a week to wherever it would be. Some guys are playing for Chelsea in North London, or West London even, and living in
quite a distance away.
Just for their kids' development. Sometimes they take the winning and losing so personally, and I'm sure you've heard of stories where, you know, parents have almost like they've been arguing and almost fighting with referees and with other people's teams, and you know, it's not about that at that age. You know what I mean?
But that's the fun of being a mum or dad, really, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Not really. I
Not
think
to the detriment of the psychological, you know, impact it can have on.
They'll just go back to their PlayStation.
They'll forget about it.
They'll forget about it. The parents take it home more than the kids.
But I think that we're, you know, this thing about forget about it, some may, but I think we cannot underestimate those that don't and then become isolated, and that's when, you know, getting older, the depression and things can set in, because I just think sometimes that it's shrugged off and it's, oh yeah, that they'll be all right, oh, you know, it hasn't affected them. But what about those players who are not open and won't talk about their emotional state and how they're feeling?
My take on that basically is that when you're developing a player, he needs to understand that you can't. There's more games to come. So basically, you can't take losing to that detriment, because you might not even be with that team in about another year. So you can't take it to that.
Overseeing their kids.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. So in terms of moving forward and where you think that this country perhaps needs to go, so like you made a comparison with Spain, and actually, funny enough, Charlie spoke earlier about, you know, some of the statistics and the fact that with La Masia, it's an integral part of the way that they run their academy and their curriculum. Do you think that that's something that perhaps we might do in this country? Do you think it's a possibility?
Oh, it's definitely a possibility. I think, as Colin said, kids between the ages of 6 and 10, I think, I agree with them, it's integral that they are playing futsal, not necessarily because they want to become futsal players or they need it to become an elite Premier League player or an elite league player, but for the simple reason that it's an aid to actually playing football, you know, and it's the different types of skill that are needed. We're creating people who are creative, you know, parts of the body that you will use in futsal you necessarily wouldn't have even considered using on a mini soccer or an 11-a-side pitch.
Again, in a fortnight for Futsal Discovered. See you then.
Thank you, Manisha.